morning, everyone, and a warm welcome back. I'm Errol Barnett as we take a live look at Beijing this morning, or the evening as it is 7:30 p.m. there. President Trump continuing his state visit with China's President Xi Jinping. And that's where we begin our top stories for you this Thursday morning. President Trump is wrapping day one of his high-stakes summit with a state banquet hosted by President Xi. Just before that, the two leaders had an approximately 2 hours long closed-door meeting with Taiwan emerging as a sticking point. During the state dinner, President Trump spoke of the years-long relationship between the U.S. and China.
This bond of commerce and respect that stretches back 250 years is the foundation for a future that benefits both of.
A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson posted on social media, Taiwan is the most crucial issue in U.S.-China relations. The post read in part, quote, "If it is handled properly, the bilateral relationship will enjoy overall stability. Otherwise, the two countries will have clashes and even conflicts, putting the entire relationship in great jeopardy," end quote. On his way to China, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said he expected Iran to come up in these talks. In an interview on Fox News, he said any Chinese support for Iran would be detrimental to U.S. relations with Beijing.
So it's in their interest to resolve this. We hope to convince them to play a more active role in getting Iran to walk away from what they're doing now and trying to do now in the Persian Gulf.
And we have team coverage on all of this for you this morning. Tony Dokoupil is standing by in Taipei, Taiwan, with a look at how the island factors in here. Ramy Inocencio is in London digging into the relationship between Trump and Xi. But let's begin with CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang in Beijing. Weijia, good morning. What's happening where you are right now?
Good morning, Errol. Good morning to everybody. Well, these two world leaders are capping off an intense day of talks mixed with some pleasure and sightseeing with a lavish state banquet where they have made a toast and already hailed this visit as a success. Of course, it all started with an elaborate welcome ceremony that was very well choreographed to really set the stage and the tone for these critical talks that today lasted for just over 2 hours. Chinese President Xi Jinping walked down the steps of Beijing's Great Hall of the People, waiting for the arrival of his guest, President Donald Trump. The world's two most powerful leaders shared a long handshake and took a lap along the red carpet. Trump was met with cheers from children waving American flags before they headed inside.
We should be partners, not rivals.
There, they stressed the importance of cooperation.
It's an honor to be with you. It's an honor to be your friend. And the relationship between China and the USA is going to be better than ever before.
The White House says both presidents agreed on the need for China to buy more U.S. agricultural products. Overnight, China approved export licenses for more than 400 American beef processing plants, according to customs data. For Xi, Taiwan is top of mind. China wants reunification. And for the U.S. to stop selling arms to the self-governing island. Chinese state media says Xi raised the issue today, warning differences could bring the U.S. and China into, quote, conflict. But Trump declined to say whether it was discussed.
Mr. President, did you talk about Taiwan?
And the White House did not mention Taiwan in the formal summary of their meeting. It did include the war in Iran, saying Xi agreed with Trump that the Strait of Hormuz must remain open and that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon.
We had extremely positive and productive conversations and meetings today with the Chinese delegation.
And those conversations will continue tomorrow over a working lunch and a tea ceremony. President Trump, though, is unlikely to leave China with any major agreements on those thorniest foreign policy issues, although he has already invited Xi to visit him in the U.S. in late September. That is a date that he just announced tonight. Errol?
Very newsworthy indeed. Weijia in Beijing, thank you. We now jump to CBS News foreign correspondent Ramy Inocencio in London. Ramy, good morning. President Trump last traveled to Beijing in 2017. So based on what we've seen today, how much have things changed since then?
A lot, Errol. Looking at the general trend lines, the consensus is that China is stronger, is more confident politically, technologically, militarily. But that's not to say that there are major challenges like surging joblessness in the country, especially with the youth, implosion of the property market there, and then economic growth, we've just heard, slowing to its slowest in half a century. But, all things considered, the vibe here is one more of strength. I spoke with China economics expert Scott Kennedy. He's at the Center for Strategic Studies earlier about China's push into AI and also China pushing back against Trump's tariffs last year. Take a listen.
China's a lot more self-assured because of all of the progress that it has made in advanced technologies and is less dependent on the U.S. In the first Trump administration, the U.S. imposed relatively low tariffs by today's standards, and the Chinese knuckled under and agreed to a one-sided deal in 2020. This time, they did not. And I think they did judge the Trump administration correctly when they pushed back hard on those 100+% tariffs. They got the White House to blink.
Yeah, so that's the money side of things. And the trade war right now is on pause until November 10th. But there's also the military side of things that absolutely have changed since 2017. China has the biggest standing army in the world. Since then, it's about doubled its stockpile of nuclear weapons. China had one aircraft carrier then. Now it is working on its fourth for better naval protection, especially into the South China Sea. And it's spending more on its military as a percent of GDP versus actually how fast its economy is growing. And in another interview, I spoke to Dr. Graham Allison. He's at the Harvard Kennedy School, and he was actually a protege of Dr. Henry Kissinger, who helped normalize U.S.-China ties. Dr. Allison told me that he doesn't think about the Taiwan question that China will invade, at least in the next couple years.
I would say if I were betting in 2026, less than 1%, 2027, 1 or 2%. Many more, I would say the missiles and airplanes and ships that they've been building are serious and good for their military use, but it's still a military force that I think is less threatening than we would otherwise see. Yeah. So that's good news for red, white, and blue.
Also on power, I asked him if he thought Xi Jinping is the strongest leader of China since Chairman Mao Zedong in the 70s, and he said yes, that Xi Jinping politically, his quote here, is a black belt in the extreme, that he's effectively got one-man rule and leader for life, and that Trump, he pointed out, has made it no secret that he actually really admires him and that he actually wants to be more like a strongman like Xi. Errol.
Really interesting. Ramy in London, thank you so much. CBS Evening News anchor Tony Dokoupil joins us now live from Taipei. That's the capital of Taiwan. Tony, good morning. You are in the key location between these two powers. Explain to our audience the importance of Taiwan and why it's looming so heavy over this visit.
Yeah, Errol, Taiwan is the very center of the core of Chinese core interests, according to Beijing. And Xi Jinping, face-to-face with Donald Trump yesterday, at least according to Chinese state media, reiterated the idea that the most important issue in his mind between the two countries is the issue of Taiwan. Why does China care so much about Taiwan? They consider it to be part of mainland China. It splintered off in 1949 after the Chinese Civil War, and Beijing regards it as essentially a renegade province, not unlike an American state that's trying to secede. And they want America to stop selling arms to this, in essence, state that's trying to secede, in their view. And that's why it is such a core issue for them. 1949 looms large. By 2049, the 100-year anniversary of the modern China, they hope that there will be reunification. What the people here hope, though, is very different, Errol.
And tell us more about what people there feel and are telling you, Tony. And end with telling us how your cameraman's doing.
Yeah, no problem, Errol. Well, so we spent some time today at a market, at the mall, in a subway station, talking to anyone who would talk to us about how they feel being Taiwanese so close to the Chinese mainland. And the general perspective is that there's nothing against China per se, but they don't want to be communist in any country. They have grown attached to their independence, to their freedoms. to the democracy that they have here, and that's really where they draw the line. They don't care what name you put on it. If you call them a country or a nation or an independent province, they're comfortable with the status quo, but they don't want to be gobbled up by their bigger neighbor. You mentioned the cameraman. If people were watching the evening news last night on the East Coast, we had an incident where our cameraman lost consciousness. And I'm not going to give his name out of respect for his privacy, but it was a scary moment. He did go to the doctor. He's been checked out. And he's recovering well, and we don't anticipate any other issues with his health, so we're happy to say that. But we appreciate everyone's notes, and it was a scary moment there for a second or two, but he's on a better path, and we feel good about it. So, Errol, thanks for checking in on that as well.
Yeah, great to hear that. We appreciate that. Our crews do all the heavy work as well, and that's so our viewers can get up-to-date information from around the world. Tony, thanks to you and your crew.